Hey you guys, I probably look a little bit rough tonight, so I apologize. This time of year is always super busy for me. So, anyways, I wanted to do something fun this month for our special monthly EDU. Each month I do something a little bit different for everybody in the $5 a month tier or higher. And, I was trying to find something in line with spooky season. I know I already did the Death Transits presentation. I might be tripping over my words tonight, so I apologize in advance. Um, so on TikTok, I'm fairly new to TikTok. I just started TikTok in January. Lately, I've been getting all of these like videos on the books of wisdom, and I finally caved and bought the Book of Wisdoms, volume one and two. Now, I have not read through all of them, but I have read everything that they wrote on Saturn, which is what I'm doing my presentation on. The Book of Wisdom's take on Saturn. It's fun, it's frisky, it falls into spooky season because it's Saturn. And it's just very interesting. And I thought we'd just dive into it tonight. And this would be our fun kind of October spooky season special EDU. Also, I was just at the Great Northern Viking Fest and I got a ceremonial porcupine quill tattoo behind my ear of Saturn. Let me show it to you. I got to share my screen. Oh my gosh, I got to show somebody because I just love it so much. All right, let me see. Share my screen. I got to pull up our PowerPoints anyway, but here is the lovely woman who was doing it. She actually did this tattoo with a porcupine quill that I got to keep afterwards. I actually have the quill hanging from my rearview mirror. But there it is. There's Saturn. Oh my gosh. Don't you just love it? And there she is doing the whole ceremony thing. But anyway, so I thought, yeah, definitely let's do Saturn. So let's pull Saturn up if it wants to pull up. Here we go. So this is Saturn, according to the Books of Wisdom, volumes one and two. I got to tell you, I thought this was kind of hilarious. But there were some interesting tidbits in here, which is why I finally decided, hey, I'm going to make a presentation on this. Let's have fun with it. We should always be willing to learn. We should always be willing to look at things from a different perspective or a different lens. Okay, so in the books of wisdom, Satan is Saturn. Saturn is Satan. So I love it. So it's making this reference referring to carbon-based life forms. All forms of life are based on the bonding properties of the element carbon. And you guys know this from my astrophysical magic series, where I talk about us being a living temple, a living altar, because we have carbon, we have hydrogen, and we can manifest with our bodies. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, which according to the author who did the research, comes to 666, which according to that author is the number of Satan. So I have the little diagram that's actually in the book right here on the right. Very interesting. So the physical body, he is saying, is the mark of the beast. It is a simulation of Saturn, and our soul is in bondage with the body. More like soul contract. It's a willing soul contract, but let's look at it from the author's lens, shall we? He is using the Bible here to quote his, how he is drawing these conclusions. He uses Corinthians 4:4. For Satan, who is the God of this world, has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. So Saturn is the first celestial energy responsible for incarnating souls into the material realm. Now, that's arguable. A lot of us believe that's Pluto, but let's go with Saturn. As the Lord of the Rings, Saturn marks the outermost layer of the soul system, the gateway between the spiritual and physical worlds. Passing through Saturn binds the soul into time and space, which is why Saturn is called Father Time or Chronos, which also means time. So, very interesting. I can kind of see where he's drawing these conclusions, kind of connecting these invisible dots. Now, in astrology, Saturn is the great teacher, introducing restrictions, duality, and physical limitations to the mind. Now, the mind is boundless, but once inside the Saturnian system, The soul is crystallized into physical matter, which is carbon 666, the so-called mark of the beast. So Saturn and the prison of matter, the game cube of Saturn. This is where it gets kind of fun. Saturn's cube represents the structure of physical reality, a system of control and limitation. Manly P. Hall states in Magic that Satan, he is keyed to crystallization. So this suggests that Saturn slash Satan is the force that solidifies spirit into form, trapping divine essence and the density of matter. Again, very interesting. I love looking at things from outside my box. I mean, I may not agree with it, but I think it's very interesting. Um, all the planets' symbols are made out of the sun, moon, and earth symbols, which is true. If you look over here at the symbols that were in the book, I think it's the first book of wisdom, or maybe it's the second one, I can't remember, but you can see where it's a little bit of a stretch, but if you look at the symbols, you can kind of see how they just like bind ruins, you can put them together and make unique symbols. And of course, if you look at a symbol long enough, you can find multiple other symbols. So it's kind of a stretch, but I get where he's going. Moon equals mind. Now, in astrology, we know moon equals emotions. Sun equals soul, which is true in astrology. Sun does equal life force, which is part soul. Earth equals physical body. Moon equals lunar, which equals mind, which equals crazy person, which equals lunatic, lunartic. So that's a very interesting play on words. So when we say the word lunatic, somebody's being crazy. We are using this formula. He's he's writing out for us. Linking the moon to the mind, your mood shifts, just like the phases of the moon. Mond, which is German, means moon. Mon, which is French, equals moon. Mind is connected to the moon. The moon controls emotion, thoughts, and cycles, influencing the mental state just as it does the tides of the earth. Again, this is from the Books of Wisdom series I am sharing with you tonight. I wish this was alive, honestly, because I think we could have like a really fun like convo about this. Just because it's such interesting information. I want to make my screen a little bit bigger. I don't want to be super small tonight. Like I want to like have fun with this. Okay. So let's look at the symbols over here though. All right. So take a look at these little charts here. Saturn, the 5 circled. We got Baphomet here in the pentagram with 666 carbon, Satan, Saturn. And we have some interesting other little pentagram symbolism here, but let's read what the Book of Wisdom says. Okay, Saturn symbol, matter over mind. The symbol of Saturn represents matter over mind, signifying how upon incarnation into the Saturnian simulation, we lose our memory and become trapped in physical form. Saturn equals Satan. I love this. The force that binds the mind by placing matter above consciousness. This aligns with the Bible. Satan has blinded the minds, which is in 2 Corinthians 4:4, reinforcing the idea that incarnation veils our true spiritual awareness. I can kind of see where he's going. I think when we do incarnate, we do lose memory. We have to. If we kept memory, like obviously that would be disastrous for everybody. And it's part of our soul contract, right? We can't bring former knowledge in. We bring the energy in, but we don't bring the knowledge. Now, the Saturnian system, which is basically life as we know it, like a computer simulation, locks the soul into the prison of time, space, and limitation, keeping it bound to the material illusion. Could Saturn be the architect of forgetfulness and ensuring souls remain in the cycle of reincarnation until they awaken? What an interesting question. Again, I wish this were alive so we could debate this. But think about it, right? Email me, private message me. What do you think? The Saturn symbol is where we get the number 5, the middle point that shifts into the other half of the sequence. This connects to Saturn's role as the force that transitions spirit into matter, binding the soul to the physical realm. Hexed into 5 senses. So I think these are his hex diagrams right down here that we were looking at. Oops. Boy, I gotta stop playing with this. All right, I just wanted to move it just a tiny little bit. No, no, what did I do? Hang on, you guys. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't play with this a lot. I probably should learn how to use this better. Anyway, hexed into five senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Hexed into five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. In numerology, five represents change, symbolizing the soul's fall into material form through Saturn's influence. So, his little elements are, oh my gosh, you guys, I swear I won't keep doing this. I swear. I just literally want to move the box. Why doesn't it let me close it from the bottom, only the sides? That makes no sense. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right, so here's his little five senses, five elements chart right here. Anyways, very interesting. Holy shit, where did I go? Whoops. Wait, you guys, what did I do? I can't even believe this. Tonight is kind of like a disaster. I can't even find myself here. Where am I? Hang on, you guys. Why can't I see myself? All right, we're going to stop share real quick. And now we're going to go back to share. Share. Holy shit. Was it really that? Oh my God, I'm getting so irritated right now. You guys, I'm sorry, but this is like super irritating right now. I am so sorry. Share. Okay. Saturn. Let's fast forward here. I guess I'm just going to stay small because it does not want me to be any bigger than this because it's like being a total dick about it. All right, hang on. Maybe I can make myself a tiny bit bigger. Okay, I'm a tiny bit bigger. This should be okay. All right. Satan is Saturn. Let's get back to it. That was like a long debrief, huh? The elite symbolize Saturn so heavily because it represents the material world of time, space, and matter, trapping us within the world of time, harnessing our soul's energy to sustain their control. They do not want us to ascend back to the base reality we call heaven or Eden. Instead, they embrace bondage, desiring power over the physical realm. Their devotion is satanic, saturnic, as they seek to will matter rather than to transcend it. He's talking about the 1%, of course. Now let's talk about the clock and Saturn's number six. If you subtract opposite numbers on the clock, the result is always six, which is true. 12 subtract six, 1 subtract 7, 11 subtract 5. He's playing with numbers here to get what he wants, etc., etc. Six is Satan or Saturn. I'm sorry, same thing though, right? The god of time, the force governing the material world. 60 minutes in an hour or 60 seconds in a minute, 24 hours in a day. 2 plus 4 is 6. You know what this reminds me of? Have you guys watched that movie with Jim Carrey? It's like one of the few like serious roles he had. It's called The Number 23. In The Number 23, he is just obsessed with numbers and number patterns like this. And basically, you know, if you play around with numbers long enough, you can get whatever you want. But I just think it's this whole thing that he's doing right now. The author reminds me of that movie. If you have not seen The Number 23 by with Jim Carrey, you got to watch it. It's awesome. All right, 666. The number of matter and restriction. The clock is Saturn's construct, a system that binds consciousness within time cycles and limitations. Kind of true. You know, time is kind of a made up human thing. We need it so that we can function, I guess. But yeah, I mean, and it's also a currency. We don't talk about that enough. The black cube of Saturn. Okay, I need a drink for this one. This one gets fun, you guys. Another symbol of Saturn is the black cube representing structure, limitation, and control. Saturn exalts in winter, a season symbolizing death, dullness, coldness, and darkness, which is true. Because of this, the color black became associated with Saturn, which I had never heard before. And I've been doing astrology 29, 39, 19, 29, 29, 39, almost for 30 years. God, that's crazy. Because I started 19, I'm going to be 48 in February. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm all over the place tonight. Seriously. Anyway, the color black became associated with Saturn, reflecting its dark and restrictive energy. This is why we have the black cube of Saturn, a powerful symbol of the material prison that binds the soul within time and space. Judaism and Saturnian connection. Judaism has deep Saturnian symbolism woven into its rituals and sacred symbols. Well, this is true, I think, for all major religions. You see Saturn. Black cube on the forehead, the tefillin, symbolizes Saturn's black cube, representing control over the mind and binding thoughts to the material world. Black bands wrapped around the arms, mimicking Saturn's rings. These bands represent being bound to physical matter and the limitations of the material realm. I mean, the author is really stretching here, but let's go with them because it's interesting. I love a good conspiracy theory, you guys. Covering their eyes in prayer, symbolizing entering the void, the darkness of Saturn, where physical perception is removed. The Star of David equals Star of Saturn. The six-pointed star is historically linked to Saturn worship, not just Judaism. The day of worship, Saturn's Day, Saturday. The Jewish Sabbath aligns with Saturday, the day of Saturn, further reinforcing its connection to time, law, and material existence. Could these practices reveal an ancient understanding of Saturn's role in binding consciousness to physical reality? Email me your thoughts. Boy, I should have a contest. Like, if you guys actually do answer these questions and email me, like, I should have like some sort of prize I mail you. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. All right, the satanic sigil of the Baphomet is the inverted element pentagram. It's putting the most important element, spirit, at the bottom. Spirit is the most important because it gives birth to the other four elements. Satanic people don't care about spirit. They are materialists or inverts. Satanists invert everything. I don't know. I do a lot of goetic work. Satanism is totally different. The two don't really correspond. People think they're interconnected. I don't know a whole lot about Satanism. So I can't really talk on it. I know about goetic work and goetic practices, but that's totally different. Anyway, he has these nice little charts here showing New York, some black. I've never seen this black cube in New York, but maybe a Nintendo GameCube. Do you guys love it or do you love it? Anyway, let's move on. The black cube of Satan. We got some more. Oh, there's that damn GameCube again. And there's a Jack in the Box. I forgot about these. All right, so everything within this three-dimensional physical world consists of six sides: up, down, left, right, forward, and backward. The geometric structure defines our physical reality, reinforcing the concept that we are trapped within the Saturnian construct, like this prison, right? Saturn's a prison. Our mind has projected itself into this 3D world, entering the simulation of Saturn to experience physical existence. Very, very interesting. It reminds me of another movie. And gosh, I can't remember what it's called. I'm gonna look it up though, because you guys gotta watch this movie. It's about a guy, his daughter dies, he starts doing this research into parallel universes. It's, I think, not Manchurian. Oh shit. I gotta look. Conspiracy theory. We live in a simulation. Movies. I gotta find it for you guys because where is it? It's not the Manchurian Candidate. It's not a very popular movie either. Um, okay, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, come on. It's not the Matrix. Hang on. Let's go simulation theory movies. Not source code. What is going on? Oh, Vanilla Sky is a very good movie, but that movie is more about parallel universes. Okay, you guys, I am so sorry, but I have to find this movie now for you. I just have to. Dark City is also a good movie on conspiracy theories where we're living in a, simulation. Actually, in Dark City, you're on an alien, whatever. Um, Inception's a good one. How can it not be on any of these lists? I thought it was an amazing movie. Simulation. I can't believe this. I'm wasting all this time looking for this movie and I can't find it for you guys, I'm gonna be pissed. Simulation theory movies, uh, Amazon Prime, because I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon Prime for free. All right, let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Okay, no, this isn't it. Boy, this pisses me off. Oh, is this it? The Mandela effect? Hang on. It is. Oh my gosh, I found it, you guys. The movie is called The Mandela Effect. It is talking about what this guy's writing about. I bet you the author of these books probably watched The Mandela Effect a million times. It is on Prime. Anyways, it is actually a really, really good movie. I really enjoyed it. The ending was kind of surprising, but if you're into conspiracy theories, if you're digging what this guy's writing about or find it interesting or amusing or entertaining, watch that movie. So sorry I wasted all that time. Anyway, all right. Saturn functions as the cosmic computer, the system into which our consciousness has been uploaded. This is why we see Saturnian symbols in gaming and technology. Sega Saturn. Remember Sega Saturn, you guys? Remember that back in the day? Directly referencing the planet Saturn as a system for virtual experience. The Xbox, the X within a cube, symbolizing the Saturnian black cube and the limitations of a material world. Heart thrones and Saturn's binding. He's actually comparing a lot of this Christian symbolism, the heart with thorns, to a binding by Saturn, which is interesting. The heart with rings of thorns represents the soul trapped in matter. The thorns symbolize Saturn's rings, binding spirit within the physical realm. The light shining from the heart represents the soul's pure essence of being, of light trapped in form. The cross and the unfolded cube revealing the hidden structure of Saturn's black cube. The symbolism is also reflected in the Vivian Westwood logo right here, subtly encoding the Saturn influence in fashion and culture. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Da Vinci. So Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, I actually had this plaque in our downstairs bathroom back in Racine for years. I don't know why I loved it so much. Um, it symbolizes humanity trapped in the cube, the prison of the physical body. The square represents the material world where man is bound by Saturnian structure and limitation. The famous Jack in the Box. You guys remember Jack in the Boxes? This was a thing when I was a kid. I mean, I don't think these exist now except for in haunted houses and museums. But Jack in the Box toy is truth in plain sight. We are Jack, trapped inside the box, symbolizing the Saturnian cube, the prison of the physical realm. To escape, we must expand our minds, break free from the limitations of matter, and pop out of the box, ascending beyond the simulation. Heaven is the base reality where consciousness exists without attachment to a body. So, again, very interesting stuff here, and I kind of dig it. All right, let's talk more about Saturn symbolism. If I can move me again. All right. 911 in Roman numerals. Saturn's code equals, and I have it on screen, IXXI, Roman numerals. It equals 911. So the elites perform satanic rituals encoded with numerical patterns linked to Saturn, such as 9/11, which align with the occult Saturnian symbolism. Saturn, known as the Grim Reaper, now we're getting even darker with Saturn, governs death, time, and the afterlife process. Actually, that's Pluto with that part, but we're going to roll with it, making it central to their rituals. They associate these events with Saturn's influence, reinforcing its power over the material realm and cycles of destruction and rebirth. I am curious. In Satanism, do they use astrology? I don't know. I haven't really studied Satanism. It sounds like maybe they might. Anyway, the electromagnetic torus field is the fundamental structure responsible for generating all physical forms within the simulation. That's this little right underneath me here. This little diagram right here is that field. That image illustrates the energy flow pattern within an electromagnetic field, which mirrors the structure of an atom. So all physical matter emerges from the balance of two opposing forces equalized on the plane of inertia, where energy stabilizes into form. It's good that he's using science. I use science too in astrophysical magic. Saturn functions as the computer simulation of this physical world, encoding the construct of material reality. The sigil of Saturn, which is right here, reveals this hidden mechanism depicting the plane of inertia and the flow of energy within a torus field right here. Ooh, why is my, okay. Symbolizing the underlying structure of existence. Boy, this is a fun conspiracy night here. I love this though. It's October, right? This is great. Corona means crown. Let's talk about liquor. When I was young, like early 20s, I loved me a good Corona, but I had to have lime and I had to have a little bit of salt. There was just, you had to have that, no, not lime. I'm sorry, lemon. It's been so long since I've had a Corona, but I would have that little sliver of lemon and a little tiny bit of salt. And boy, was it so good. Anyway, Corona means crown, a symbol historically linked to Saturn worship. The Phoenicians and Babylonians adorned themselves with crowns and rings to honor Saturn, the architect of the simulation. The corrupt elites of the past and present do not seek to ascend to the base reality or heaven. Instead, they desire to rule the simulated world. The simulated world of Saturn, embracing material power rather than spiritual liberation. That might be pretty accurate, actually. Crowns and rings symbolize their devotion to Saturn's rings, representing bondage to the physical realm. Even today, we wear wedding rings to signify a bond, just as entering Saturn's rings represents the soul's attachment to the simulation. The moment our mind and spirit become bound to the physical plane, or the physical body, I'm sorry. So here's some more Saturn symbolism right here in the right corner from this Book of Wisdom series. Very interesting. He's a very good theorist. He's a theorist. All right, the black cube of Saturn. We got back to the black cube again. My goodness. All three major religions can be traced back to the veneration of Saturn. Saturn is perceived as the matrix encompassing time, space, and matter, serving as the true deity of this world. And Saturn is a deity. I mean, there is a deity, Saturn, that is associated with the planetary elements. So there's that interconnective. As an omnist, I believe that sometimes one energy source, a divine energy source, has many different faces. And so the god Saturn could be divine source. It could be, the planet Saturn, a reflection of that energy. So anyway, I mean, he makes some good overlays here. It exercises dominion over the physical realm, including your body and all material aspects. The shared notion of heaven and or an alternative realm in all religions reflects that human consciousness transcends the confines of this world. Very true. The term Sabbath traces its roots to the Phoenician word Shabbat, signifying Saturn. Sabbath is the Judaic day of worship. Sabbath day, again, we're back on Sabbath day, is on Saturday, the day of Saturn. He's repeating himself a little bit here. He's beaten this bush to death. In Islam, adherents worship the Kaaba, a structure shaped like a black cube. The cube's geometric forms associated with the creation of matter, where black signifies matter and white symbolizes the symbolic connection that is drawn to Saturn, that's considered the deity of matter. That's interesting. Saturn, the deity of matter. When I was typing this out and making this presentation, I think it struck a chord with me then. I had to do a little research on that. I just like the way it sounds. It sounds like it makes sense. Anyway, with the cube situated on Saturn's North Pole. Additionally, in Islamic rituals, individuals circumambulate. Why am I using big words? I'm so tired, you guys. The cube mirroring the rings surrounding Saturn, drawing a symbolic parallel between the circumambulation of the Kaaba and the rings encircling the planet. I have not been drinking. I have not been smoking. I have not taken anything. This is just pure lack of sleep. Anyway, we have some interesting I don't even know what all this was. It was in the book. So I took a screenshot. I think it's just trying to make the cube, how it can be a cross, and Christ goes into the cross, and there's just all these kind of correlating interconnective theory, like crazy conspiracy theory. There we go. Person inside the cube. That's a real stretch with that one, but that's okay. Let's see what else we got. Saturn energy. Saturn in the external material plane governs the foundational and enduring aspects of existence, such as the roots of plants, the bones in our body, that's boron, and even the insects that do all beneath the ground, right? So it represents the dull heart. Did I type that right? It represents the dull heart and unyielding forces of life, symbolizing structure, limitations, conditioning. Now, Saturn is definitely connected to conditioning. Under Saturn's influence, things become rigid. True, bound by that restriction and those boundaries, right? Now, in Roman mythology, Saturn is revered as the god of time. So, all of my Hellenic pagans, all of my people that practice Hellenism or Hellenismo, um, anybody who works with deity from the Greco-Roman pantheon, some of this is very true. I mean, he did do some research here and tied in those belief structures into his theory. So, in Roman mythology, Saturn is revered as the god of time, of where am I? Of ruling over the cycles of beginnings and endings. This connection with time emphasizes Saturn's role in marking passages like aging, inevitable constraints we all face. You know, aging is just that one thing you can't get around. It sucks. Internally, Saturn embodies the conditioning within our consciousness. When the Saturnian aspect of our consciousness dominates, we become overly rigid, fixated, and restricted in our thinking and actions. You know, it's funny. So when I do love haunt work, I do petitions to Saturn. And the reason I petition the god Saturn, the planet Saturn, for that energy and influence is because that's true. Saturn will grant fixation. So if I'm working a case where I'm trying to get two people to maybe reconcile and I'm trying to get one of the individuals to really have thought disposition about that person, you know, associated to mundane everyday things so that they keep populating on their mind, I do work with Saturn for that. You guys found out another one of my little secrets. Um, so anyway, fixated and restricted in our thinking and actions. For example, Saturn's influence is strongly felt in today's world, where many people's minds are confined to societal norms and conditioned responses. The pervasive control is Saturnian energy. It can lead to a sense of limitation as people become trapped within the structures imposed by society. However, Saturn also serves as a great teacher, which is irritating also, but guiding us through difficult life lessons that ultimately lead to growth and expansion after you go through bullshit. Although Saturn's energy is harsh and often challenging, it helps us develop resilience, discipline, and wisdom. Very true. Yet in the modern age, this energy has overpowered the minds of the masses, fostering excessive rigidity and limitation. So instead of being ruled by Saturn's constraints, we should seek to embrace more freedom, love, and joy, balancing Saturn's lessons with openness and fluidity in our lives. That's where magic comes in. So we have here a diagram of, I believe this is Saturn, his depiction of Saturn. It looks like Asclepius. When I first seen this, I said, is that Asclepius? I think the author might have confused an old art piece or drawing of Asclepius with Saturn. But anyway, you've been hexed. A hex is a magic spell that you cast onto someone. We have all been hexed into physical matter. Hex equals hexagram. I don't know what that means, but it's kind of true. Like the moment we incarnate our soul, you know, we sign our soul contract and are born in the flesh, it is kind of a little bit of a hex, honestly. All right, the significance of Saturn, like we haven't been talking about that already. I don't know what that diagram is, but we're going to talk about it. Saturn, as mentioned before, governs the foundational structures of existence, such as the bones in our bodies, the roots of trees, and the underlying framework of nature itself. Bones and roots, which lie in darkness, are hard, dense, and unyielding qualities that deal with conditioning, limitations, and constraints. Internally, Saturn represents the way we are shaped by our experiences and the boundaries imposed on us. For instance, when we become mentally fixated on a specific issue or area of life or person, constantly replaying it in our minds and limiting ourselves by these repetitive thought patterns, we are experiencing satanic energy. He calls it satanic energy. It reflects how our consciousness becomes trapped in self imposed restrictions, often preventing us from growth and expansion. Saturn's influence over the body and spirit reflects how our consciousness becomes interwoven, intertwined with the material world. Our spirit bound to the limitations of a physical form. The body in this context is seen as a conditioned vessel. I like that, the way he words that, through which our spirit operates, constrained by the laws of matter. You know what that made me think of? Men in Black. Remember the original Men in Black, and the alien guy was in the human dude suit, and then the head opened up and it was just this little tiny alien sitting like where the brain would be, like at a control panel, kind of operating everything. That's kind of the visual I got when I was reading that. Like that's where our spirit is, right there in the pineal gland area. So funny. Anyway, the body in this context is seen as conditioned vessel through which our spirit operates, constrained by the laws of matter. In the modern world, Saturnic energy appears to dominate as many people are mentally and spiritually confined to limiting belief systems, especially those shaped by modern education, true, and materialistic perspectives. Look at the world right now. How true is that? It's fucking crazy. It's crazy out there. Most people today are conditioned to believe solely in the physical aspect of existence, dismissing anything beyond what can be observed or measured. The prevailing worldview suggests that if something cannot be seen or quantified, it simply does not exist. However, this is a misunderstanding of the deeper truth. Saturn hasn't gained control of our consciousness, but rather it represents that aspect of consciousness bound by material limitations and rigid thinking. Saturn is said to have a hexagon at its north pole. And I'm going to have to look that up. I don't know if you guys, maybe one of you guys know this, but I have studied Saturn extensively, but I've never really looked at the NASA maps. And I wonder if there is a hexagon at the North Pole. I'm going to check it out tonight. A symbol rich in esoteric meaning, whether or not its existence is scientifically proven. So I bet you there's no photos. um, in symbolism, a hexagon can be seen as a cube when three additional lines are added. The cube represents the physical plane where infinite mind is bound by the limitations, again, of time, space, and matter governed by physical laws. So we got some more diagrams here from the wonderful Book of Wisdom. Saturn and Saturn's sigil, and we got the man in the weird trapezoid box, and I don't know what all this is. Oh, I bet you this is the picture of Saturn. He's trying to say that's a hexagon somehow. That's funny. All right. Well, anyway, let's move on. All right. Let me move my body here. Okay. So the cube, we're talking about the cube again, you guys, with its six sides, up, down, left, right, forward, backward, remember, symbolizes the third dimension of physical matter. Saturn in this context embodies the restrictions of the material world, including time and space. Boy, he is very repetitive, very repetitive. And I typed all this up and didn't even notice, because I read it, I started typing it, and I just went with the flow. I wanted to give you all of everything that was available in these books on Saturn. All right, so excuse me. Our spirit, though infinite in nature, is confined within the body and its consciousness limited by these dimensions. True. This is why Saturn was referred to as the god of time, as time itself is one of the most fundamental limitations of physical existence. I always say that. Any of you guys that work with me, I'm always preaching about time as our greatest currency. The body is limited to six directions: up, down, left, right, forward, backward. Again, bound by the constraints of the physical plane, which is governed by Saturn. Boy, he just keeps rewording himself, right? Is it just me or is this super repetitive? Maybe it's because I'm tired. I don't know. But I wish he would stop doing that. These limitations represented by the cube define how we move and exist within time, space, and matter. However, the mind operates outside these restrictions. That's true. That's how we manifest. Unlike the body, which is confined to the present moment in physical dimensions, the mind is infinite and can transcend the boundaries of time and space. The mind can move freely forward and backward in time and imagining the past or projecting into the future. It is not bound by physical laws like matter or time, allowing it to explore realities beyond what the body can experience, liminal space and dreams. Our consciousness, astral travel, our consciousness may be hexed within the physical body, symbolized by the cube. But the mind has the ability to break free of these constraints by expanding our awareness, spiritual evolution. It can transcend the limitations imposed by the body and explore the timeless and boundless nature of our consciousness. I love that because that's magic. That's energetic manipulation. That is transcendence. That is transmutation. And that is true. So, what do we got here? All right. So, he's got this little chart. Moon governs Monday, Mars governs Tuesday. He's breaking all this down. The sigil of Saturn again, compared to chromosomes. You've been double crossed. Cross conditioning. Maybe I'll start using chromosomes in my cross conditioning work. Chromosomes, Chronos equals Saturn. How interesting. It's a reach, but very interesting reach. All right, the black cube again. Holy shit, you guys. This guy is fixated on the black cube, this author. All right. The black cube is a significant symbolic structure found in major cities around the world, and its presence is no coincidence. Conspiracy theory. All right. In New York, for instance, the black cube is situated in Times Square. I've been to Times Square. Where the fuck is the black cube? I've never seen it. Its name symbolically connected to Saturn, the god of time and limitation. Time is inherently constrained, and the square leads to the cube, which symbolizes physical matter and its limitations. The cube being the most restricted shape in geometry. Really? I do sacred geometry, and the cube is actually considered, it's just like the pyramid, the triangle. That's weird. He's saying it's considered the most restricted shape in geometry. It represents movement in 6 directions: up, down, left, right, forward, backward. Holy fuck. Really? That's like the 7th or 8th time. Defining our physical existence. The color black in this context symbolizes matter, dullness, dominance, hardness. Together, the black cube embodies the restrictions of the material world, reflecting Saturn's influence. The symbolism is echoed in the black cube of Mecca, known as the Kaaba, which also represents Saturn. That's right here. So here's the New York one. I don't know. Maybe I must have missed it. Here's Mecca. So whether people recognize it or not, he's saying. So like Saturn, religion can serve as a form of conditioning that limits the mind. Oh, yeah. I mean, religions have been used to control and condition since they, first rolled out with the pirates. Anyway, it limits the mind by externalizing the concept of God, right? While religion often promotes belief in a distant external deity, the truth is that humanity is an extension of divine consciousness. God resides within us, and we are all interconnected aspects of this consciousness. Now, I kind of agree with that. I believe that, yes, we have deity, we give these deity names, we represent them physically and in different art depictions. But I believe it's all interconnected. It's a divine source of energy that is connected to us individually. I do believe we're all connected, and I do believe those deity reside within us. But when we work with them and we work with that inner energy, I think we need to separate that. We need to give it like that other existence, because I think it's hard for most people to, just like in astrophysical magic, when we're using our body to manifest, it's hard for people to close their eyes and meditate on carbon and hydrogen in their body, right? To speed it up or slow it down to create an effect. I think the same with deity. Even though all deity interconnects and they interconnect to us, it's all part of divine source and the branches of divine source. I always think of it as an old wagon wheel, right? From the old West. those huge wooden wheels. You had that big, huge, massive center, and then all these hundreds of spokes going off to the outer wheel, right? That inner wheel is that's it. That's God, that's deity, that's everything. It's the universe, its existence. The spokes are all the faces and extensions of that energy and God's to us, the outer wheel, right? And it all works together to keep things going around. But yeah, I kind of agree with him. All right. So, however, religion doctrines and rules condition people to obey and fear an external authority mirroring the constraints represented by the black cube. Saturn's energy also manifests in societal structures such as government, which enforces limitations through laws and systems designed to keep individuals in a controlled, restricted state of consciousness. For example, the education system conditions individuals to become workers, tethering them to material concerns and lowers that state of awareness. I agree wholeheartedly with all of that. Other examples, IRS, can't let anybody have too much money, too much power. Um, Certain mainstream religious groups, Pentecost, I talked about them in a video recently. If you refuse the Holy Spirit when it comes to you, it will never return. They're control, fear mongering tactics. I don't like them. The soul system, let's look at this little chart here. I really like this chart. He is associating the chakras with different planets. That is true. They are associated in this order. So he has done some research here. Saturn is, I call it the sex chakra, right? And it makes sense because I do sacred sexuality work, and it does make sense that Saturn is connected to that chakra system. Um, so it's interesting. He did some background work here. All right. So this is why Saturnic symbolism is prevalent in cities and institutions of authority. Police uniforms are typically black, and judges often don black robes, both signifying Saturn's control. Even in graduation ceremonies, the black robes and square caps known as mortar boards, I never knew that's what they were called. What a weird name, right? Mortar boards symbolize the cube, representing the mental conditioning opposed by Satan. In essence, the black cube serves the powerful symbol of the forces that condition and limit our consciousness, both physically and mentally. It reflects Saturn's role in shaping the material and societal structures that govern human life, reminding us of the constraints we must transcend to reconnect with our true limitless nature. All right, look at this. So, yeah, the black robe of Satan, graduation. We got a judge here. We got the little, what do they call it? A mortar board? That's wild. So the graduation cap symbolizes the dominance of matter over spirit, representing the conditioning imposed by Saturnic energy. Wow. This guy's pretty good. I hope he writes more books. He probably made such a shit ton of money on the Book of Wisdoms. I mean, he wrote two of them, right? Book one, book two. And I mean, on TikTok, that's all I was fucking seeing. So I swear to God, that's why I broke down and bought them and said, well, let me check this out. Anyway, the graduation cap symbolizes the dominance of matter over spirit, representing the conditioning imposed by Saturnic energy. The color black symbolizes dominance, masculinity, matter, enforcement, and limitation, all attributes of Saturnic energy. While Saturn is not inherently evil, and it's not, you guys, they're really painting a dark picture of Saturn. And it's October, it's spooky season. We'll roll with it, but it represents the concept of limitation, which can be beneficial for learning and growth. And this is why Saturn is often referred to as the great teacher in astrology. However, the conditioning and limiting energy associated with Saturn have become unbalanced in today's world, leading to restrictions that hinder rather than help our development. And I sort of agree with him there. I think we live in a very out of control, planetary influenced society. Oh, there we are. This was the end of it. Oh my goodness. All right, hang on. Let me get out of here. Let me open myself back up. Come on. Really? Geez, I gotta play with Zoom and figure out what the hell I'm doing. I apologize, you guys. Anyway, I kind of wish this was a live. Um, we could have had some real fun here doing some banter and exchanging theories and our take on his theories. But I thought, it would be a fun special EDU this month just to dive deep into Saturn from the perspective of a conspiracy theorist who has two hot commodity books with a lot of out of the box perception pieces. Because again, I think it's important as we elevate ourselves spiritually to look outside of our box, look at somebody else's point of view, kind of, chew it in the mouth. Maybe we want to digest it, maybe we want to spit it out, but let's at least get it in there and taste it and see what it tastes like before we make a decision, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I was going to do death transits, but I did those last month and I realized I kind of screwed myself for the spooky season presentation, but I hope this kind of fits the bill. I did just post, it was a 13 or 14-minute video on sewing, working with goetics, some sewing practices, some fun like Halloween party incorporations of magic. So I put that on my YouTube, TikTok. The link's on my Patreon. I think it's on my Snapchat. And the first 3 minutes of it is on Instagram, but check that out on any one of our sites. That has a lot of like Halloweenish sewing and even serious, like more goetic approach work for this year. And I tried to keep it very short and simple, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit extra. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, if you have any answers to those questions that we had in the presentation, definitely email me. I would love to hear your thoughts. What you think about what you heard tonight about Saturn. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have your own theory? I love listening to other people's theories. Anyway, I'm going to make some more coffee, and I probably shouldn't. I'm a little ramped up on the caffeine because I haven't been sleeping so great, and I usually don't this time of year. There's a lot of transient spirit activity, and I just don't sleep well. Anyways, stay magical, and I will be seeing you all soon.